You're watching Suck Professor. Hello, everybody. It's me, Hank. I'm joined by
James.
Hello, James. It's me, Hank. I am it. Information technology. Come into my good sewer. I almost said crib because what am I, from the fucking 90s?
Yeah, James Corden already made that one.
What?
The information
No,
technology.
I've been making that joke for fucking years because I'm a hack. I'm a hack comedian. So and he stole it from me. No, it's the most obvious joke of it all. It is. So welcome to our discussion here, everybody. We're going to talk about It. Big spoilers ahead. If you haven't seen it or you don't care, make up your mind about it. But we are going to ruin this fucking movie to no end. Right, James?
Yeah, we're going to do a lot of spoilers, and I have to say this again, I have not read the book in about 20 years. I've not seen the miniseries from 1990-ish in many, many years, so I'm doing this all from memory as it compares to the new movie. So I'm probably going to get stuff wrong, so correct me if I do.
Yeah, if we get it wrong, just let us know in the comments. Keep it cool, keep it honest, keep it respectful. That's the way kind of discussion we like to have on our channel here. So this is basically just our insights and reactions to seeing the movie, kind of a podcast discussion sort of thing, so we don't have a real strong structure here. We actually do have a structure. Question that James posed yesterday, because we talked about this a little bit to me, that we're going to answer at the end of this discussion was, there was a stunt that Pennywise, the actor who played Pennywise, performed, right? Do you want to rephrase it? What was it?
Oh, yeah. I was reading an interview at some point, and they said that the actor who played Pennywise, who was Skarsgård, Bill Skarsgård, was asked by the director to do something. And he said that as he was doing the scene, the director was describing to him in CGI what this would look like. And he stopped the director and said, you know what, I can actually do this in real life, so you don't need to spend your money on that CGI. So I assume that during the movie they did use some CGI, but I think that most of this was actually the physical performance of the character, of the actor himself, as opposed to full computer graphics.
So there's a particular moment in the movie where that's the case.
Yeah.
And you know the answer. I don't know the answer. I have a guess, and you're going to tell us if the guess is right. My guess is when he, near the end, right before he ends up in that hole that he falls down into, the roll backwards into the hole. He roll backwards into it, kind of like he does like a flip, sort of like he's on his back and then he kind of does a backwards roll.
So you're saying that maybe he's Bill Skarsgård has some scuba diving experience?
More like Cirque du Soleil experience. Okay. Sort of like a cool parkour move, kind of a breakdance stand-up sort of move. Okay. And then you'll tell me at the end if I'm right or not.
Sure.
That's called tension building in the broadcasting business. Okay, fuckface. All right, so a couple things that I noticed. Let's get this funny one out of the way first. I laughed out loud watching the movie when in the opening sequence, the kid's chasing the boat.
You're not gonna say where he bonks.
No, I didn't like that.
Because you laughed at the trailer and that was horrible.
Well, it's funny when a kid.
And that's how the boat gets away from him, because he hits his head on the thing and it stops him from chasing and it gets down in the sewer drain.
Yeah. Well, you shouldn't be playing in thunderstorms, okay? Thunderstorms are for staying indoors and wrestling over Nintendo controllers. Anyway, no, not that part. But the kid, after he's been talking to Pennywise in the sewer, the moment when it grabs the boy for the first time, it's kind of like the first big jump scare.
Yeah.
I love that interaction, though. That was their introduction to Pennywise. I thought Pennywise was really cool and effective. I was like, whoa, Pennywise is neat. I love the eyes, the way the eyes are sort of cross-eyed a little bit. And anyway, so right when Pennywise grabs the kid for the first time, they cut to a reaction shot of the cat. You know how that old woman was on the porch?
Yeah.
And they showed the cat once before that, when the old woman comes out to like mess with her blinds or whatever those things are. And right when Pennywise grabs the kid, they edit to the cat looks up real fast, like the cat notices it. And then I laughed out loud, real loud in the theater because the cat was so funny that they cut to. It's like something I would do. I would put a reaction shot of a squirrel and a raccoon, like all the local wildlife notices. Something just was hilarious. But as soon as it was over, though, I realized, that wasn't supposed to be funny, and I was just a lone person cackling really loudly at a kid being murdered by a clown.
But you get the significance of that, though. There's a reason for that.
For the cat noticing it?
Well, not with the cat, but not the woman.
Oh, well, the woman doesn't. They don't pick up on they don't see the monster stuff.
Right. I think the whole thing is that when Pennywise is active, he's outside of his slumber. I got the impression that he casts this sort of like spell over the entire town, where it makes the adults apathetic to the fears and needs and protection of the children.
Yeah.
You can see it in Beverly's father, who I assume was a terrible human being prior to that, but is only enhanced by this. You can see it in Eddie's mother. You can see it in when Ben is being carved up by Henry Bowers, and the car drives by with adults who don't even notice, and you see the balloon in the back, which kind of symbolizes that they're under a tethered control of Pennywise.
Yeah, for sure. Dude, well, that's another...
And the pharmacist being creepy. All the adults in this movie are creepy.
That's what I was going to say. This town is filled with horrible parenting. Derry is short for dereliction of duty.
Yeah, but I think
I wrote that earlier.
I think this Pennywise has a hand in that, I think.
Yeah, no, so that's the stuff you were saying was how much of this Pennywise psychological factors that are at play that I wasn't even really considering when I was watching it. So that's some of the things that we're going to talk about. But yeah, the parenting, everybody, they're abusive and terrible and creepy and shitty. Just this is even who's the main kid? Mike, the stuttering kid.
Bill Denborough.
Bill Denborough. Who's Mike?
Mike is Mike Hanlon. No, Ben is the fat one.
Oh.
Mike Hanlon is the kid who works at the butcher shop.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I'm terrible with names. So anyway, Bill Denborough. His dad was kind of shitty. I mean, his dad yelled at him in the garage,
you don't see much of his father, but the father is clearly shown that he's got pain from dealing with the whole Georgie thing, as does the child, but he doesn't recognize or see the pain in his own son and try and console him. He just selfishly reacts with his own emotion, which is garbage.
But he was also the best parent of the whole show, movie, because he didn't... Anyway,
and we don't see a lot of the parents. We don't see Ben's parents. We don't see... well, I guess we do see Stanley's father, who's the what's the name for it? The Jewish priest.
Rabbi. The rabbi. Yeah. Yeah, you see him, yeah. The Jewish priest.
I couldn't think of rabbi.
Ministers or whatever.
Sounds like a heavy metal band, Jewish priest.
Jewish priest. Judas priest. Okay, so what else in that opening scene stood out to you?
From what I remember in the book, and this has been a long time ago, and this is the visual image that I have in my head from there, is that I had the impression that Georgie's arm was ripped out of the socket and ripped from his body, and that he bled out and bled to death. I mean, maybe I'm remembering it wrong, but I do know in the miniseries they didn't show anything. They showed basically the clown grabbing his arm, him screaming, and then a slow zoom in on Pennywise's face as his teeth bared. So I was a little shocked to see the CGI action of the clown's mouth opening, the teeth coming out, biting into his arm, and then him trying to crawl away, missing an arm.
Yeah.
That was a little shocking. But
is that description in the book? Do you remember?
I don't remember that being in the book at all, no.
Okay.
And I could be wrong. I could be completely wrong because it's been so long. But I felt like that kind of... I always liked the idea of not knowing exactly what happened during that scene, whether or not, he was ripped out and pulled under the sewer. It's like, that took a little bit away from me.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Because to me, it like, I don't want to say it complete opposite of what you're saying, like, oh, it added for me, but like I didn't think that was ineffective as far as advancing the story. I mean, the kid was traumatized, and there's nothing worse than being murdered slowly. Like, if you're gonna get murdered, you want a bullet to the back of the head without you realizing it's coming. That's like the ideal way of getting murdered.
Yeah.
But they're like, if you get tortured, terrible, that's worse. But a kid had his arm torn off, and then he's crawling away, and I thought that shot above where the arm comes out of the sewer was kind of cool.
I was okay with all that. It was the teeth that got me.
Oh, the teeth that you didn't like.
I didn't want to know that soon into the movie how the creature fed.
I see what you're saying. Okay,
it showed its cards too early to me.
So that teeth death thing was not what Bill Skarsgård's skill was.
No.
Unhinging his jaw and having 14 rows of teeth.
No.
Looking like one of those earth mining tools, or those big earth grinding machines. Boring machines. So final thought about that whole sequence. Pennywise, I thought the popcorn thing stood out to me, just really cool writing. Where he's like popcorn, pop, 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 and the kid's like laughing. He's like, because that's what you do with kids. You act silly, you make noises or whatever, and kids react to that because they have terrible senses of humor. And then, but the way he stopped saying pop, 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 and he sort of, his face kind of goes dead, and its eyes kind of like go cross. I just thought the cross-eyed thing was so menacing. Normally, cross-eyed is, you don't feel scared when you see somebody cross-eyed. You feel maybe a little pity, like, oh man, that must be, what's that like? I have a friend who's cross-eyed, so I'm allowed to talk. It's just it's uncomfortable. But the I don't know. I just, the way that it, I just thought the way they chose to show it for the first time, and I know it's pretty faithful to the book. They probably would have had a revolt if they showed it like having dinner at Kinko's or wait, no, not Kinko, Caribou Coffee or something. You know,
He eats paper.
He
He feeds on toner once every 27 years.
He's making photocopies of his butt and stuff and his face. He's just like an office guy with no office. But I just thought the popcorn thing was really cool.
And that was in the book, I think.
Was
and
it?
I think Tim Curry even did that performance where he did the pop, 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 pop.
The pop, pop, pop. Yeah, that I don't know. I like that part.
But I did like, what I don't remember in Tim Curry's performance is exactly that part that you mentioned where he's doing this sort of like sing-song play to lure the child in, and then he sort of goes dead-eye. Like you said, it's almost as though his animalistic instincts hone in as soon as the kid gets within striking range.
Yeah, like he did just the minimum he needed to do to get him to become a victim.
Yeah.
Horrible town though, terrible town. Derry is filled with murder. The kid, so the fat kid does the research at the library and figures out the pattern. It's 27 years. There's about 80 kids died, or some adults died in an ironworks.
Yes,
disaster.
Ironworks, the Easter egg hunt explosion.
Yeah.
In fact, I think 106 died. 88
A nightclub fire, is that what
the
other
Black
one?
Spot nightclub, which
Yeah.
is an African-American nightclub at the time that burned down from, I think, racist KKK members did it.
Yeah.
But Pennywise was basically behind it.
Yeah. And just all kinds of children going missing all the time. And
Yeah, the
like,
disappearance rate, the death rate, and that's the thing is that it's always it's not child murders, it's disappearance, because Pennywise doesn't really leave anything behind. He takes the entirety of the child.
Yeah, he gets them out. Yeah. Do you really cover up missing kids posters on a wall? Is that how that works? I mean, I feel like you would put them next to each other. You don't.
I mean,
it's not a.
If the adults who are putting them up are walking around the world in a trance with Pennywise, maybe,
maybe
their actions could easily be that. Maybe he's intentionally obscuring the fact that there's a missing kid to get people to stop looking.
Okay.
I don't know. It's plausible.
Here's something that didn't work for me in the movie. That weird rock throwing fight. I thought that was just oddly filmed. Something about it seemed off to me. I had the sense that it was like reshoots, because it just seemed like they were in a different location, and it felt like there were green screen moments, because they did a lot of like straightforward. I don't know if you've ever been hit by a rock. It's not a fun experience. I mean, that's the point of having a violent fight.
It was an important scene because it was basically Ben becoming a member of the Losers Club. They were saving him from Henry Bowers and his goons.
Yeah.
So it was important, but what got me wasn't the scene of the rocks being thrown. It was basically the scene where they were cleaning the blood up in Beverly's bathroom, and the scene with the rock throwing, where they play this music that, for me, the emotional appeal of reading this when I was a kid is that this was a harrowing fight. This was like them protecting one of their own, or soon to be one of their own.
Yeah.
And it was like a heroic moment. It was them standing up for themselves. So I can't remember what song played the movie, but it didn't fit the emotional impact that scene was supposed to have, in my mind at least. It just felt jarring.
It felt like it was dropped in from a different movie.
Yeah, it didn't feel like it belonged at all.
Yeah.
It was like they got the wrong idea of what this scene is supposed to convey.
Right. I mean, they'd still, yes, from a story perspective, you want to rescue Ben and get Ben getting into the group, and that's good. But it just had that scene stood out as a kind of a low point in the movie. Not that I was like, oh my god, this is horror. I was just like, what the hell is that? And it didn't really diminish the overall experience that much. It's like finding, you find a Band-Aid in your lasagna. Oh god, now you got to eat around the Band-Aid, and it's going to make dinner take longer. But this was like finding a dried tomato seed on the bottom of the plate. Because everybody looks at the bottom of their plate.
Sure.
What am I saying? Okay, now, do you have anything specific that's popping up in your head?
The other thing that kind of bothered me a little bit, and I don't know if this is going to be in the part 2 of the movie or if they're going to do it with flashbacks, but they completely glossed over the ritual of Chud and Maturin. I'm not saying that correctly, but the ritual of Chud was when I think it was Ben and Mike. Bill and Mike went into like a smoke lodge, and they hallucinated, and they saw the origins of it. They saw it crashing to Earth as a meteor and then being around from the genesis of known recorded time. Or
really?
Well, before recorded time.
Natural history on Earth?
Yeah, so this has been a predatory creature that's been here for a long time. It's also been speculated that it comes from the Dark Tower, that it comes from a place beyond space and whatever.
Maybe it comes from the lodge?
Yeah.
Twin Peaks Lodge?
No.
You never know. David Lynch does have powers we don't fully understand.
Yeah, but we don't get a sense of what this creature is, where it's from, how ancient it is, or anything like that. And I'm hoping they go back to that.
Okay.
Because that was an experience from the book that I thought was kind of cool, but I kind of get how that wouldn't fit with the flow of the movie.
Yeah.
So maybe they filmed it, maybe they cut it out, I'm not sure.
At least they didn't try to replace the origin story.
Yeah, and I'm thinking that they kept the turtle out of it because I think they probably felt like that would be too jarring, because the turtle Maturin.
What's Maturin? The name of the
turtle's name. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Is this supposed to be this gigantic interdimensional species of creature that serves as a benevolent, kind, opposing force to the evil that is it.
Wow.
It's sort of like the balance in the force.
Okay.
And it speaks to Bill during the ritual of Chud, and it guides him.
Wow.
And there's 2 references in the movie to a turtle. When they're playing in the creek, one kid says, I can't remember who it was, but he says, I think I stepped on a turtle.
Yeah,
and then the other one where Georgie, in the form of, or Pennywise in the form of Georgie, scares Bill in his house when he's running by. He's in Georgie's room holding a Lego turtle, which he drops and it shatters on the ground.
Yeah.
2 very prominent turtle icons.
Yeah, so they definitely went out of their way to make sure that the turtle was mentioned, but they didn't go into that deep turtle.
Right. So I'm wondering if they're scrapping it and that's just an homage to it, or if they're going to delve into it more deeply in the second part.
I don't know. Yeah, well, the way they were filming it in the quarry, where they're like, oh, I felt something. By the way, when you live in a town filled with missing kids, don't swim in the quarry. Yeah. It's covered with kid bones at the bottom. You're gonna step on a kid's skull or a kid rib, and you're probably going to break it, and your foot's going to get stuck in a kid rib, and you're going to become a kid bone, okay? Yeah. My point is, where do you bury bodies, James? Everybody knows the quarry, all right? Stay out of the water.
I told you that story where my dad stepped in a kid.
What?
Yeah, and his foot got stuck in the rib cage. And
it literally got stuck in the rib cage?
Well, that's how I knew, because he was walking through a swamp, standing water, about 2 feet of water or something like that, and he sticks his foot in, you hear that like sinking...
That crunchy sinking?
Well, yeah, and then you think you're stuck in the mud, and you raise your boot up trying to figure out what it is, and you've got a kid on your foot.
Oh, so he picked up... So, yeah, he didn't realize what he'd stepped into.
Imagine the face emerging from the... Ugh.
So he saw...
He doesn't really talk about it.
So is the whole body stayed together when he lifted up his leg?
I don't know. I didn't ask details when I was a kid.
God, that's a horror movie all on its own. Every time you tell me a story about your family, I just want to talk about that for the next hour, because there's so many interesting questions.
Yeah, but I agree. If you live in a town that has a bunch of kids disappear...
How long had the kid been missing? A long time?
All I know is the kid probably fell, tripped, hit his head, and drowned in the water.
Oh, okay.
Or got lost, because basically the entire bog area was called the Dragon Swamp. And it was called that because it was a labyrinth of swamps.
Chesapeake Bay area, right?
Yeah, very easy to get lost in it, very easy to
go
perish.
Missing. Yeah. Okay, wow. Perish. Jeez, that's a word you don't hear much.
Yes.
I like that word. Matthew Parrish is my favorite actor.
Well, speaking about labyrinths and swamp areas, one thing that kind of bothered me a little bit about the movie is that the kids go, at the very conclusion of the movie, into the sewers to hunt for it.
Yeah.
But in the book, and you do get a little bit of a sense of this when they have the projector scene with the whole map of the sewer system laid over the town of Derry, but it's supposed to be that the sewer system is this vast labyrinth of interconnected tunnels where you'll get lost and turned around and you'll get killed or starved to death or
just an ant colony.
Yeah, it's something that you don't go into unaware. And in the book, that led into that uncomfortable scene that thankfully they removed, where the kids defeat it, then they get lost in the sewers, and their memory are just kind of clouded, and they can't find their way out, so they do their orgy scene in order to re-engage their minds so they can get back out.
All right, so hold on. The orgy scene.
Yeah.
I went with a friend, and he told me about the orgy scene after the movie. He's like, I heard, because he doesn't know your level of detail, so his details might not. And he told me that he read about this before he saw this, that they decide that the way to get out is the girl bangs them all. They basically, but did they do it one by one?
Yes.
Did they go off around a corner and then take turns?
I don't remember that.
And how old? I mean, that's nuts.
It's Stephen King is still defending that scene, saying, I find it odd how everyone is looking at this as in a sexual sense. How do you not look at it in a sexual sense in that case? But he says, I find it odd that people are outraged by this, yet they're totally okay with the whole child murder spree.
Yeah, that's kind of a topic worth
it was basically a binding bond for them to do that. Right. And I think the movie did it more effectively with a blood oath type thing, with a blood bond, with the hands at the end where they were holding hands. That was the substitute for that, I think.
Yes, like had they chosen to have an 11-year-old orgy.
Yeah, a pedophilia scene would be a little bit much.
That would be crazy. Yeah.
I think theaters would empty out really quickly at that point.
They're not, no one would go for that. Even if they were of age, that would be crazy. Like, you wouldn't, even if they were 21 years old and they're at the prime of their lives, and then they decide to have a nice little hump fest in the sewers after murdering a meteorite clown.
Yeah.
That still wouldn't make any sense at all. I mean, the only kind of justification I can come up with that's remotely rational. Is like, oh well, it's like, people like losing your virginity is sort of a coming of age thing. It's sort of a milestone in everybody's life. So maybe these kids had to grow up so suddenly, and them all losing their virginity at once sort of symbolizes that they are now like kind of gone through the their own coming of age experience. But I'm not saying I agree with that at all, and I'm not even sure if that's Stephen King's explanation.
No, but given Beverly's father, do you think she really was a
what, slutty?
No, a virgin.
Oh, a virgin. Well, I mean, no, that's a whole different thing. Is virgin? Does it count when you're raped?
Yes.
I don't know.
Absolutely.
It's not your choice. I think you could make.
Choice has something. It's a medical term. It has nothing to do with choice. You either
are
or you aren't.
There's a vastly wider definition of virginity that's not just medical. There's an emotional.
Well, I'm talking about the medical one.
Okay. Well, yeah. Technically, with something inside you, yes. But if you're an 8-year-old who's raped by her father, are you supposed to walk around saying, "Well, I actually lost my virginity to my father"? I mean, I could see you arguing either direction. Honestly, because it takes away the agency from the victim. Is my point.
Right. But do you think that Beverly's
child abuse
father...
victims? Yeah. I'm always on the side of the victim, and child abuse victims deserve, even if it means we twist language a little bit, it deserve to have the agency to decide what they say, because that's the thing that they deal with.
But do you think Beverly's father was a terrible human being on his own, or do you think it was an influence of Pennywise?
Well, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I assume. It seems like the whole town is filled with terrible parents. Right, so maybe they're all infested by this evil kind of.
But do you think that the clown's infestation persists when he's asleep?
I don't know. Is that something that
I think it does?
Yeah. It's sort of like he's in the water, right? Or like fluoride. Although fluoride generally does good for teeth, right?
Yeah, it turns your skin pale white and makes your nose turn red.
Turns you into a clown face.
Yeah.
Wait, we're skipping around a little bit. So that orgy scene is not in the movie, obviously, which was good to hear.
No, they're absolutely out of the movie.
Great that it's not in the. It's so weird.
Nobody thought that it would serve the movie at all.
Could not imagine writing that. That's crazy. That's like, what the fuck? Like, hey, Stephen King. Hey, jerk off before you write your stories there. But no, I love Stephen King.
Let's talk about the clown itself and the penultimate confrontation.
All right, so they finally get down to the sewers. They've had their run-ins with all their different fears. They've encountered they've realized the house is where the sewer entrance is. I'm just sort of summarizing a little.
The standpipe.
The standpipe. Thank you. The bullies have been dealt with effectively, except for the final one.
Well, Henry Bowers. That's an important thing to bring up, because in the movie, Henry Bowers is pushed by Mike into the well, and there is no way. I don't care who you are. I don't care if you've got a skull of titanium. You do not survive a fall like that. That kid is dead.
Does he survive in the story?
Yes, absolutely. He's a pivotal character in the second part of the story.
As an adult?
Yes, he's in a mental institution or a criminally insane institution, because what happens is that he is, I believe if my memory serves me correctly, he goes through the sewer system and he encounters Pennywise head on. Pennywise hits him with his deadlights, and it turns Henry Bowers' hair completely white, and he goes out of his mind.
What are deadlights? Is that a clown term?
What are deadlights? Deadlights are what it is.
Deadlight? Is that a term from the book?
Absolutely.
Well, then why would I know it? You're looking at me like I don't know a word that was made up.
Because they use it in the movie.
They do.
It as a creature is his true form are the deadlights. When he opens his mouth and those lights shine out, it's what put Beverly into that trance.
Did they say the word deadlight in the movie?
I don't remember. I'd be surprised if they didn't.
It'd be weird if they did. Who would know the word? It's not a real word.
But
why would a kid suddenly know the right word if they had never seen it before?
No, the clown would have said the words.
Now time for my deadlights.
Yeah. In the 1990 miniseries, Tim Curry says it.
Oh, would you like my deadlights? That's my Tim Curry impression.
Yeah,
it's pretty good. All right, fine. Whatever. I just don't recall hearing that. So deadlights are the lights inside his mouth.
Yeah, it's the true form of it's shining through.
Okay.
It's what I'm assuming is how he makes all the children float.
Okay, the float thing. All right, so the final confrontation. They just basically gang up. They learn to not be afraid, and they gang up on him, and they beat him up.
And one person was never afraid, which is why he used the deadlights on Beverly, because she had seen more crap in her life than the clown could conjure up for her, so she had no fear left, which was great. Yes. She was a great character.
I like Beverly a lot. The casting was great. The acting was wonderful. Very effective. I keep using the word effective. I don't know why. I get self-conscious when I repeat words, and it drives me crazy. The fight.
I had a problem with the infight.
you want to lead up to the want to talk about the dancing thing, because they see the dancing part? Because this leads this is right into the fight part.
That took me out of it.
Who saw the dancing then? Did he?
Beverly.
It was she was the only one down there when he did the dancing thing.
Yeah. He jumps off the stage. She tries to run past. He dives on her and grabs her.
So it opens up, and I thought it looked like volcanic a little. Like the mouth of a volcano.
It just looks so hokey.
But then it realized it was sort of just like circus stage decorations, like those old plays with the elaborate backgrounds. And all of a sudden, it's standing there, and where he pumps his arms up and down straight below his chest.
His head's not even moving.
His
really.
head doesn't move, and his legs and body are kind of kicking out real fast, left and right. Now that's a dance that's like a dance that's known.
And you can see Pennywise the dancing clown. Yeah, it's painted on the side of the thing that he's in down there with all the toys and stuff scattered around.
Like, look at me, kids, I'm dancing.
And we know he's been around forever. So apparently during Victorian times, he found this clown thing. He emulated the appearance of the clown and found that it was very effective for meeting his point, in getting kids' attention and luring them into his trap.
Yeah, so that's why I dress up like a fish when I go fishing.
So he's basically taken this form as his primary form, even though it's not his true form.
For sure. That's kind of his inhabited. That's his pajamas, basically, like what he puts on when he gets home.
Yeah, I mean, had he come to Earth and started emulating humans sooner, he probably would look like Mr. Rogers.
Yeah, he'd be changing his feet.
Want to touch my sweater?
Everybody likes to be a good neighbor, Georgie.
Okay, but the dancing thing, I didn't mind it. It was weird. It definitely had a strange, like, what the but I like weird. I like things that are like, what am I looking at? Like, that is so nutty. I like when they're specific about the weirdness, is what I mean. And it does make sense that he would have that dancing like software in his brain, as far as being like the because he inhabited that clown from the circus. But it was done in a very aggressive way, and I didn't find it. I thought it worked. I liked it.
Here's the thing for me. This is my biggest gripe in the movie, is that the clown in the book scared me. Tim Curry scared me, and it wasn't just because I was a kid watching it at the time. The Tim Curry clown was one who came after the kids, showing that he didn't need anything from the kids, showing that they had no power over him, that he was an omnipotent force of nature, and he was coming after them with pure rage and hatred, and he wanted to kill them.
Yeah.
In this movie, the clown reveals too much. Pennywise says that he makes it apparent that they need to be afraid of him, or else he can't eat them. He makes it apparent that when they're not afraid of him, he has no power over them. He shows his weakness to them. So by the end of the movie, he is a sniveling, pathetic piece of garbage slithering back into the sewer pipe, who even mutters the word fear at the very end, because it's him experiencing fear for the first time. His own weapon that he uses against others is now affecting him, and he doesn't know how to comprehend it.
Right.
So
you're saying in the book and in the miniseries, the Tim Curry performance, they didn't do that. They didn't show that he was his weakness at all. But the kids had to figure out eventually.
Right, and the kids do learn stuff during the final fight. In the miniseries, Eddie uses an inhaler on the clown, and he says, "This is battery acid, you slime," which is kind of weird because the kid is pretending that it's battery acid, but he doesn't actually believe that it's battery acid, because he's been using his whole life as an inhaler.
Yeah.
But because he says it is, the clown believes it.
Right.
And the same thing in this movie, they harken back to that with a cattle gun.
Yeah.
Where Mike, not Mike, Ben, not Ben, you got me doing this. Bill.
Steve.
Bill is holding the cattle gun.
Dale.
Yes, Bill is holding the cattle gun that Mike brought.
Arnold.
Mike knows that the cattle gun is not loaded because during his fight with Henry Bowers, he lost all of his ammo down the well.
Yeah.
They only had the one bolt, which he used on Georgie.
Right.
So he knows it's not loaded, but Bill doesn't know that. And vis-a-vis the clown, Pennywise doesn't know that.
Yeah.
So even though he pulls the trigger and nothing happens, the clown still inflicts, the damage is inflicted upon the clown.
Because it was fear. See, when I was watching, I didn't realize that. What I didn't connect to that, because I'm dumb, I was like, I thought that when the kid shot him, even though it was empty, I thought that it wasn't empty. I thought that maybe the charge had more than one hit, like because those like CO2 canisters pop out. I thought, oh, the CO2 canister must have like enough for 2 shots or something like that for the bolt. But they did establish earlier that they really only have one when they were doing the sheep killings and stuff like that. So I'm so dumb, I didn't even pick up on that. Like, I'm missing out on this like nice this interesting emotional warfare that's going on in that fight.
And it's the whole...
It didn't occur to me, oh, he's afraid. That's why they're beating him.
Yeah, it's the Chekhov's gun thing, too, because you see the bolt gun at the beginning when they're going off to the sewers. It zooms in on Mike's holster where he's carrying it with him.
Right.
And you see the fight with Henry Bowers where it gets flung down the pit. I mean, it was an important thing. In the miniseries, the bolt gun wasn't the bolt gun. It was the silver earrings and the slingshot that Beverly shot.
Okay.
So Beverly was the one to fell the clown in the miniseries. In this one, it was basically Bill, the hero.
All right. Speaking of the silver thing, did you notice the word silver was written on his bike?
Hi-ho silver. That was a very important aspect in the book. I think that Bill uses silver to help... I think, was it Eddie? I hate that if I'm getting one of these names wrong, but the one with the inhaler was Eddie, I think. The hypochondriac with the crazy mother.
That was Tom.
Don't do this to me. Where I think he's having an asthma attack and he rides him into town and saves his life using silver.
Okay.
And I think that he also helps Richie, I think it's Richie, escape from the werewolf on the back of Silver. So Silver was Bill's pride and joy. It was basically his car, you know.
Pride of that bike.
Yeah. It was very important, and it comes again into play heavily in the second part of the movie.
I had a bike as a kid named Huffy, and my brother had a bike named Schwinn. We were very proud of those bikes. They were the one and only bikes in the existence. At least that's what our parents told us.
Yes.
All right. So, but if we haven't really summarized the final fight though. They beat him up, and then they all kind of go at him. There's one of them picks up a chain and whacks him in the face with a chain. Am I remembering that correctly?
Yeah, he's attacking the different kids. He's at one point his arms turn into like sort of crab spiky claws or something.
Yeah, that was kind of cool.
And he's just morphing all over the place, trying to feed on the fears of the individual children to attack them. But the problem is that you can't be paralyzed in fear by your custom tailored fear when you've got multiple other kids around you hitting you and knocking you out of it.
Right.
He's defenseless when he's around a group of kids like that. So the Losers Club comes up and just dominates him.
Yeah, they owned him.
Until he tries his last trump card and becomes Beverly's father.
Right.
And she has none of that.
Yeah. Well, how do they react to that again?
I think Beverly shoves like a crowbar straight down his throat.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's what that was. Yeah. Well, boy, you think about stabbing someone, you think like, oh, through the throat, up into the brain would be pretty. I mean, you probably kill somebody that way. But like stabbing someone through the throat down into the chest, that's a grisly wound.
Yeah.
Nice that it has such weak flesh. All these weak-bodied little kids who don't even do push-ups are stabbing them with spears they found. They're not even spears. They're railings or spikes from the fence.
Right, but as long as they believe it's effective, it's going to be even more effective.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Because belief has a function in this.
I always forget about that part. All right, so then he rolls back into the thing, and Bill does the final hit to him at the end, or he crumbles into dust.
Well, his head opens up and just kind of flutters away into nothing.
Yeah, he sort of turns into like bloody globules and kind of falls down into the hole.
So at this point, the children absolutely know what his weakness is. The children know that he is defenseless in this mode. So it leads you to believe, why do they have a reason to fear him when they're called back to Derry 27 years later? Is it because of the memory loss thing? Because we know that there's this thing where the curse of Derry evaporates off of you when you leave Derry.
Right.
But it wipes your memory mostly of the events that transpired in the town. It basically puts you in a cloud.
So but is this fair? That's the second phase of the book, basically, is the adult version of them having to come back and deal with this thing 27 years later.
But it's something like, I think the curse of the Losers Club, if I remember correctly, is that they're very successful in life. They go off to do things, and you know, the careers flourish, but none of them can have children.
Oh, okay, that sounds nice.
But they come back because Mike Hanlon remains in town. He becomes like a historian in town, and he's waiting.
Is that the fat kid?
No, Mike is the guy who worked at the butcher shop.
Oh, okay.
So he stays in town, and his job is to maintain the memory of what happened.
Yeah.
So he can call the team back together 27 years later when he believes the clown is reemerging.
Yeah.
And he does that. But then you think about it,
But he has to convince them. He has to be like, hey, don't you remember?
Yeah. In the original book was set in the 50s. So when they were adults, it was basically in like the 80s.
Yeah.
Now we're starting off in the 80s, and we're coming back in like 2016.
Right.
So
1989 plus 27.
So it seems hard to believe that they would have lost touch with one another completely in the height of social media.
Yeah, I mean, okay.
It's a harder sell for the story when you advance it 20 years in the future.
Yes, the ability to stay connected definitely changed more between 1989 and 2016 than it did between late 1950s and middle 1980s or whatever. So yeah, in that sense, for sure, like, although people weren't asking, I mean, social media didn't really connect people until Facebook became big, and that's really not until mid 2000s. I mean, no, it was around a little before that, but it really started to dominate our lives in the mid 2000s and then onward into nowadays, where it's causing us all to go crazy because we're all hunting favorites and likes and stuff. Not everybody, me especially. I got to get rid of my phone, James. I think it's making my already mentally unstable brain even worse.
Now, speaking of phones, I do have a question for you.
Uh-oh, go.
So in the book, there was a phrase that was very prominent about Richie.
Yeah, but hold on. Let's finish this real quick. So then they go. So the next story is going to take place as when they're adults. In 2016 will be the time frame, roughly. Although people will probably freak out if it's not exact. So they're going to have. Your point about the fear thing is that the children know its weakness. They know how to defeat it. So you're saying, why would the adults, when they come back, not only will they be adults, so they're stronger and a little more life experience, they can probably afford guns and weapons,
bazookas.
maybe hire some goons if they've done well in life. Why would they? There's no. You're saying that by revealing its weakness is now known. Therefore, as adults, they're gonna just come back and just beat the shit out of them, and it won't be a real. There's no tension now because the adults have the upper hand completely, right?
Or why would they not? Why would Mike not come back down like 10 years later and try and kill it while it's asleep because he knows where it is?
Right.
And I think, people in the comments are going to have to correct me on this, but I do know. I can't remember if it's after the first time or the second time they beat it, but the sewer system does collapse, and most of Derry collapses down in on itself. So,
really?
So that might be the second time they defeat it.
Okay.
Because it would make sense if it was the first time, because then they couldn't go back down after it, because the entire infrastructure would be collapsed.
Protected, yeah.
But I don't know. I don't know if that's going to happen in the movie or.
So it's not just a small piece of town, like a sinkhole. It's like a whole bunch of the town.
Well, you've seen that the sewer system overlaid under the town.
Yeah.
I think most of the town collapses.
So the entire sewer system collapses.
I think so.
It's not just like a chunk of it. Right. So here's my thing, though, about the whole, will the adults not be afraid because they know the weakness and stuff? I mean, it'd still be pretty tough to go back, even when you know it's still a weird fight. Like, I get nervous when I have to, walk by a cop. You know what I mean? Like, like people get nervous even if they know what the outcome is going to be generally. That's a terrible example. But my point is, so in 2016 time, it inhabits the fears of the people. And those adults will have their own fears as 2016 fears. No matter who you are, you have to have some sort of thing that freaks you out a little bit, that you're scared of. Yeah. It's usually worried about people you care for. So like they'll have children or something. I imagine something.
No,
you're right.
They can't have children.
Shit, there goes. Maybe they'll have aquariums.
Yeah.
Which are like kids that can put out fires if they break, and the fire's below the aquarium. Okay. Pets, something they care about, but it can attack things they love, or it can find the fears, because he's going to inhabit their modern fears. And maybe with like the social media stuff, I know this is silly, and there's a lot of movies and shows about like, Facebook monsters and stuff, but those are in our world, and maybe there'll be fears, so it has to adapt its fears. It seems to be cunning enough to adapt its fears to the era in which it's doing its tormenting. So maybe there'll be some really interesting type of fears, maybe it'll inhabit different things that freak people out.
Yeah. For me, it would be opening the mailbox and a red balloon floats out and there's a jury duty notice.
Yeah, exactly. Jury duty. I was trying to think of. All my fears are about nuclear war, so I was like, maybe.
I'm not worried about nuclear war at all.
Maybe
like,
they'll be.
Oh no, it's coming.
Yeah.
Oops, I'm dead. Who cares?
Oh, I got it. Maybe they'll make like a clownish buffoon the president and give him the nuclear codes, and he might do it because he gets upset at somebody who works for ESPN or something like that. Maybe you never know.
Yeah,
that's the kind of fear like an evil monster would do to terrorize an entire population of a planet. So the sewer is Earth. How do you like that?
The media is it. Propagating fear so it can feed and run the machine.
Useful fear so that those in power can keep those who aren't in power fighting each other. That's honestly what the system of control that we're all living under.
Or as Rush Limbaugh says, hoax hurricanes.
Yes, and then abandoned.
Even though he fled from it.
Fled from it right away. Yeah. The science doesn't give a shit about politics. Yeah. But all right.
So here's something. You done?
Oh, yeah. That's Good. Go ahead.
So here's something that was prominent in the book that they referenced in the movie that I feel would confuse some people watching the movie.
Okay.
At one point, when Richie is walking through that clown room, and it is one of the cool things about that
Which
room.
one's Richie?
The one with the kid from Stranger Things.
Oh,
the
okay.
glasses,
the
teeth.
smart-ass kid.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Well,
why...
he doesn't really have buck teeth, but the character in the book has buck teeth.
Oh, okay. All right. I related to him most because I was the kid that would just say smart-ass.
Yes.
But I didn't have friends.
In the book, they called him Trash Mouth.
Oh, yeah.
Because he would always talk and wouldn't shut up and everything.
I like that.
So why did the clown, when it came out, and I was going to mention one of the clowns behind was modeled after the appearance of Tim Curry. Mm-hmm. So it looked like a Tim Curry clown back there. Was a little homage to him.
Oh, that's nice.
But why does he say beep beep Richie?
Beep, beep, Richie.
Tim Curry does it in the miniseries, and that line is used by the Losers Club constantly in reference to Richie. But it wasn't used in the movie prominently at all. It was kind of out of nowhere.
Oh, I have no idea. I mean, I can come up with bullshit, but you tell me.
Guess.
Richie's brother was run over by a UPS truck that was backing up.
No,
Beep. They would say beep, beep, Richie.
Yeah. Well, no, he can never shut his mouth. So beep beep is basically saying like here it's like your buzzer. It's like your time's up, Richie. Beep beep, shut up.
Oh, I see.
That's what it means.
Oh, does that bother Richie or does it work?
Well, yeah, it's an effective thing that the Losers Club says to him all the time. When he just can't stop running his mouth.
Okay.
AKA trash mouth.
It's their way of saying, oh, here he goes again.
Yeah, no, it's a way of saying is like playing him off from the Oscars. Is like, okay, it's done. Beep beep.
Right. I like that.
Yeah.
Good move. But that's not in the movie. It's only it just says it real briefly.
Yeah, he says it in the movie, and I was like, oh shoot, that's a really cool reference back to the movie. And again, another thing that they don't really talk about too much is he thrusts his fist against the post and still insists he sees the ghosts. That is super prevalent in the book.
Okay.
But what impression did you get of that? What is that?
I don't even know. Was that in the movie?
It's something that Bill is always saying to himself.
He thrusts the fist against the post. I don't know.
Still insists he sees the ghosts.
I'm hearing this for the first time right now. Was that in the movie?
Absolutely. He said it like 6 times in the movie.
Oh, wow.
His nickname was Stuttering Bill Dimbro.
Yeah.
Because you can see at the very beginning of the movie, he does stutter.
Yeah.
So that's a speech therapy line that he says in order to control and stop his stutter. When he gets afraid, he says it. He thrusts his fists against the post and still insists he sees the ghost.
Oh, I see. So it's speech for speech therapy.
Yeah,
okay,
but they don't establish that in the movie. Unless you know that, it's kind of hard to figure out.
Right. So it sounds to me like the filmmakers made a lot of effort to like drop in these little pieces there and there, but they couldn't have. How long would this movie be if they actually bothered to elucidate every single? Is that the right word? Elucidate?
Yeah, to make it more clear.
Yeah, every single little reference like that, like the turtle and like the dropped his fist and stuff like that.
I saw this like 2 weeks ago. You saw it more recently.
Yesterday.
So when the clown is sinking back into the sewers, does the clown start to mutter, he thrusts his fists against the post?
Oh, I don't know.
I think he did.
He might have.
Which means that what he was doing was he was sinking back down, but he was still trying to attack. And the only way he attacks is by drawing out the fear.
Yeah.
And all he was getting from Bill was he thrusts his fist against the post. So he had no ammunition to use because Bill was protecting himself with that.
Right. And there was also a moment where doesn't Bill give kind of like a speech at the end or right before the final fight and he doesn't stutter and one of the kids goes, hey, he didn't stutter at all.
Yeah, I think so.
So maybe he lost it, maybe like this new confidence.
Well,
does the stuttering remain for the rest of his life?
I think so, yeah. Well, only when he gets it reemerges when he gets afraid.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah. For me, it only emerges when I have an orgasm. Mm-hmm. So I go, oh.
All right.
Yeah. Which is a word you can't stutter because it's only OH. Get it, James? Come on. Literary humor. Why don't you grow up?
You can, as Beyonce does in the Single Ladies.
Single Ladies. That's a great video, man. I'm going to watch it as soon as we're done.
Best video of all time.
Okay.
Kanye West.
Way better than the book.
Yeah.
But, well, what do you make of all that? I don't even remember what we're talking about.
Make of all what?
I don't know. I'm just trying to advance the conversation.
Oh.
The ghost of the...
No, it's the speech therapy. That's all it is.
Okay.
And
but are you upset that it's not in the book, or are you just pointing out
No,
that
it's all over the book.
I mean, I'm sorry, in the movie.
Oh, I mean, I think it's reasonable that you can figure out what it means. I think it's less reasonable that you can figure out what Beep Beep Richie means. I think that could have... I think it would have served things better, and maybe they did do it. Maybe I just didn't remember it. But to have him run his mouth and for one of the kids to say Beep Beep Richie and for him to shut up. Or for them all together to say Beep Beep Richie and to see it shut him down.
Could be. I mean, there was a lot of banter between the kids and stuff.
Yeah.
And maybe that happened while the drunk guy was on your lap.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I did miss about a couple minutes of it because of that whole fiasco. But we didn't tell that story in this
we
video.
didn't tell it in this video. If you watch, James tells a story about a horrifying experience with another moviegoer during his viewing of it. So look in the description for our short review, and he tells the story there. It's just bonkers, man. Just crazy. Yeah. Okay, real quick. Kid nips. Boy, I have met my quota for the year. I'd say for my lifetime, honestly, of kid nipples. I do not want to see another kid nip for the rest of my life, unless I'm rescuing a child from drowning or something, in which case I'll tolerate it. Yeah. What? That whole quarry scene was pervert heaven.
Yeah.
My God, underwear and nipples and skin. I mean, come on. By the way, when I used to be really fat, I had those zany nipples just like the fat kid had.
Oh.
That really brought me back. You could put quarters in them. Great place to carry them around. Fill parking meters for people.
Yeah, I pretty much had enough of that kind of stuff with the very limited amount in the Goonies with the Truffle Shuffle. I think that was just the perfect amount.
Yeah.
But this did kind of go a little bit.
Yeah, kid nipples are like garlic, okay? Just a little bit, perfect. Too much, now you can't make out with anybody, all right?
And I think you should clarify you're referring to the male children.
Yeah, they didn't show the girls' nipples, but...
No, but you're not talking about that, though.
No, I'm talking about...
that would be creepy.
Yeah, well, I mean, they're all underage, so it's inappropriate to say you want to see anybody's nipples. But I mean,
so you're saying you don't want to see?
Well, I'm saying if I had to make a choice, I'd rather see a woman's nipples than a man's nipples because
But there were no women there. It was a girl.
I know, they're young. Yes, and but I mean, one thing I related to that they showed the boys doing was sort of that, like, how girls at that age, and they still are to some degree. I still find them still sort of true. Girls are these majestic, weird creatures from different realms that you don't really understand, that you somehow find yourself enamored and just completely, like, you kind of lose your sense of, like, they're stunning. Like, women they have this effect on you, especially at that age, girls.
But Beverly,
you go like, oh, and you lose your sense of, like, where you are in the world, and you just go numb and your face goes blank, and, like, you can't, and it is, I mean, I related to that.
What was your take on that whole thing, though? Because we know that Beverly had a thing for Bill. Bill didn't really have much game with Beverly.
No,
Ben was the one who was infatuated with her. Ben was the one who wrote "Your hair is winter fire, auburn embers, my heart burns there too."
January embers.
Yes.
Get it right.
Nah, you saw it yesterday. Come on.
I'm the poetry guy.
Yes.
Okay.
But he was the one who wrote that to her. He was the one that they kept referencing the postcard. And he was the one to kiss her to bring her out of her trance, which I thought was kind of hokey, but anything. But despite all that, at the very end, she turns to Bill.
That's how I wake you up when you pass out drunk?
Yes. Okay.
It doesn't work every time, but I still try.
But why did she go to Bill? That was so frustrating.
Well, that's definitely frustrating from Ben's perspective. Ben's a fat kid?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I'll be with him just because, you know, he doesn't love me as much as this kid does, but he's not fat.
Well, I mean... Look, there's two stories are happening all the time that always happen together. One is the guy gets the girl, and the other story is some other guy doesn't get the girl. And that's a much more common story because most men pine and don't get what they're...
Or the book version where they all get the girl.
Yeah, well, that's fucking nuts. That's just crazy. So I like disappointment, like when you have a crush on somebody is the most likely outcome than actually achieving what your crush wants you to achieve.
Yeah, I should clarify, Bill did have a crush on her. He was drawing a picture of her laying down in bed before when the water drips and everything, and he had this whole Georgie encounter.
Sure.
But it wasn't on the same level as Ben.
No. But it's not up to the boys, it's up to her. I mean, that's how sex selection works, you know. Mallard ducks, you know, you got these ducks, the females make the choices. That's often the case in most animals.
He should have just put her back in a coma then. He's like, fine, you don't want me? And just takes his kiss back.
Oh, in the coma there, yeah, that's what you mean. Yeah. How do you put the kiss, how do you reverse a kiss?
Hit her over the head.
Nope. Go to the butt. Gotta kiss the butt. Because the butt's the opposite of the mouth.
Come on, the butt is just the end of the mouth.
Yeah, I know. It's a food tube, and the food goes in the one hole and comes out the end hole, and that's how you reverse a kiss. Is you have to kiss.
We should register that right now. Foodtube.com.
Foodtube.
Just videos of still bananas.
Of tube foods.
Yes, 2 billion views.
It's hot dogs and eggplants. I'm sure it's FoodTube is definitely already a thing.
I'm afraid to look for it.
Yeah,
though.
It's just food. No, yeah, I mean, yeah. from the sense that Ben would have been disappointed and saddened that he didn't get the girl, so to speak, I related to that a lot because I spent my entire life. All through my high school and college, I didn't know what to do with how to talk to girls or anything.
The movie builds
it
up
took me
so
into my
much
20s to
with
not
them.
be so terrified all the time.
With him and his school project that gets dumped over, and her kissing him at the very beginning, and him riding off and dragging it behind him.
The secret admirer.
Yeah, going back and writing the postcard, giving the postcard to her reading it. There was so much through line with him and her that to have it just diverge at the end with her seemingly choosing Bill was kind of crappy.
Yeah, it was. But that's realistic. Because it's crappy to be alive. Because you're mostly disappointed because, masturbation gets old. Wait, but I mean, that's what love is. It's mostly disappointment. If you're lucky, it works between two people who have chemistry and then one of them doesn't die.
So another massive spoiler relating to what's going to happen in the next movie based on the book.
Okay.
One of the characters, one of the kids, does not return. Who is it and why?
I don't know. I think it was the kid with the painting that was scared of the painting.
Yes, Stanley. He does not return.
He seemed to me like the weirdest one of the kids.
Yeah.
Like he's the one that's most likely to grow up and become, have some problems.
He was the kid from Gardens of the Galaxy.
Gardens?
Gardens of the Galaxy. Yeah. Botany of the universe.
Vegetable Gardens of the Galaxy. It's just like.
But he basically in the book, I believe what happens is that he gets the call from Mike. He triggers his memories to come back, and rather than face it again, he goes in the bathtub and slits his wrists and writes "it" in blood on the wall.
Oh yeah, I remember that scene from the miniseries. So that's him. So you're hoping that happens? I mean, it'd be faithful. Not you're hoping the guy kills himself.
I mean, I think it's necessary for the story because it unites all the adults back together and helps them to remember how real this is.
Okay.
So through his tragedy, they come back together. So I think it's tragic, but it's necessary.
Oh, I see. Yeah, like it's an important reminder to the others to kind of snap out of their fugue state.
Because if it wasn't real, he wouldn't have done something like that.
I think it's fair to say that we'd be disappointed if he doesn't kill himself in the next movie.
Yeah,
because it advances the story, like you just explained. All right, something I wanted to ask. So in the final sequence, in what do you call his lair?
Its lair.
It's oh, that's what you call it. Oh,
yeah.
Okay. So they're in its lair. It's got the big pile of stuff, and the bodies are hovering up above, floating around.
Which was not... I don't recall that being in the book. I don't recall that being in the Tim Curry one, because I always thought when he said, and when you're down here, you'll float too.
Yeah.
I thought he meant by, simply floating through the sewer water, not floating in some sort of ethereal, suspended animation state.
I actually thought that was kind of a cool misdirection. I appreciated that. Because you think floating, and you kind of associate this rainstorm in the sewers. You think of water. You think like, oh, that's what they mean. Obviously, they mean like water floating, like your body will float, or you'll be here in the dredges with us. But I thought it was kind of neat that they pan up and you see these beings, because that sort of speaks to the invisible extension of its influence.
What I didn't like though was that when they defeated it, one of the kids makes a comment like, "Oh, the bodies are floating back down."
Yes.
They didn't address whether or not the children were still alive and were just in a state of suspended animation. They didn't address if they actually did hit the ground. Are they still there? Were they rescued? Or are they just desiccated corpses now?
So everything... Yes, I had exactly all those questions, and I thought it would have been funny, because I was like, wait, so the power is fading, it doesn't just flip off like a light, because if it just turned off, those bodies would have just come flying out. Like, what if one of them landed on one of the kids and killed them or something?
Yeah, because the thing is, once this is all over with, they do find an explanation for all the child disappearances and child murders.
Okay.
Henry Bowers confesses to it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and that's why they throw him in the mental institution.
Oh, I see. So he's the fall guy. He's the scapegoat.
And then in the second movie or the second book, Pennywise comes to him in the mental institution when he's an adult, gives him back his switchblade and says, "I have a job for you," and sends him out to go try and thwart and kill the adults.
Oh, okay.
So he is a main villain in the second one.
Yeah.
Which is weird because there's no way he survived that fall.
Okay, well, back to the fall, but before he survived the fall.
And he's also an abuse victim himself. Look at his father.
Well, of course. I mean, that's where most bullies are dealing with pain that's unregulated in their own bodies and their own minds, caused by their terrible parents, generally, or some sort of traumatic experience. Yeah. I mean, bullying is, or that kind of, assholes are bred by assholes, and they turn, and so that's one reason we have an asshole epidemic, because we don't have good correction mechanisms to undo that.
Yes.
But, well, okay. As far as the falling down thing, down the hole. I agree with you. Like in our world, you would probably die from a fall, but people survive crazy falls sometimes. They snap a leg, they just land in a way where their brain is protected enough that they don't, and maybe their brain takes a nasty hit. But it's people. I mean, it is plausible.
Okay, two things though. First of all, he's falling down a circular, narrow enclosure that's enclosed by rocks all around. So every time his head hits something, it's hitting a rock going down.
I didn't know he didn't thread it perfectly.
Second,
like when Michael Jordan shoots a free throw.
I think you see him hit the wall. Second of all,
nah, I'm not sure.
Who's going to go down there to save him? Are the kids going to tell an adult? It's like, hey, Henry Bowers, he's down the well.
Well, yeah, you need.
Who's going to find him?
You're right. You got to be rescued, not you don't. You don't rescue yourself.
He's not going to wake up and be like, oh, I'm a little dizzy. Let me climb out of here.
Daniel Day-Lewis did it in the opening of There Will Be Blood.
Yeah.
All right. So it is possible. Yeah, but you just got to accept that he doesn't die. And there's what else are you going to do? And maybe he doesn't die because some of its influence helped him not die. You could come up with that. Once you introduce supernatural, you can always just make up some supernatural bullshit to explain it. That's what's convenient about religion. Okay, so let's set it aside. I want to go back to the thing because I have a question that I'd like your input on. The pillar, its layer, right, with the hovering bodies swirling around it. There was a shot where they panned up and you see the top of it, and it's really well lit at the top.
Yeah.
So and it was like a circular kind of tower. Was that the big grain silo thing? Because you know the shot, like it's on the postcard that the kid writes the poem on. And they also walk by it, or they ride their bike by it, or somebody's they show it. That it's sort of like the landmark that they use to denote Derry, like it's on their tourism bullshit. You know what I mean? The big white, it's an all white, really fat, wide tower, and it looks like it's all dark. It's all solid walls all the way to the top. And so my thought, I was thinking, is its layer upwards into that tower? Is that the thing that we're actually looking at here?
I guess it's possible. I didn't think about that.
Because you would get caught. They would go to, like, I know it's a small town and maybe they don't, it's not a hubbub of activity, that tower thing, but it looked like it was in good repair. Every city has a maintenance, like, grounds crew, you know what I mean? Like there's always like service people that like kind of like clean up the parks and clean up the shit, and
you know, some guy in an orange vest was climbing up there and just looked down and saw kids floating all around.
That's what I mean. Like once a year, there'd be somebody from the city would probably wander by that because
two explanations.
Hold on, like just save it. Like a tree would fall down and like somebody's got to go clean up the yard. They got to do something to the tower. Oh, look,
we already talked about this though.
I know. I'm elaborating on my thinking. All right, geez, sorry, golly.
What about the whole adult thing? How they're under that spell?
Oh, that part.
That's what I mean.
Okay, yeah. Well, there's your supernatural explanation.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead. What's your two things? Is that one of them? You said two things. I tripped you up by making.
Yeah, I don't remember what I was saying.
I'm sure they were really wonderful and insightful. So anyway, but I just thought that, gosh, that seems like a crazy spot to be your. Is to make your. It's cool from a narrative perspective to put your. It'd be like if in Chicago, the source of evil was in the middle of I don't know, fucking what Sears Tower, Willis Tower they call it these days.
Right. This kind of goes back to what we were talking about in the very beginning of the very beginning of the video, is that the labyrinth nature of the sewers, how no one would go down there because you get lost, turned around, and swept away and drowned down there if you try to do it. And that's why rescue parties looking for the children never really went down into the sewers. That's why the clown was never discovered. That's why why he was safe there.
Sure. Yeah.
And here, the movie shows it way differently. It's like, you think that, a picture from Google Earth where they're giving that one away. You're like, hey, look, zoom in, there's a bunch of kids floating.
Yeah, look, you can see the kid. Yeah, it's hard to say.
And we know he eats the kids because he says that the fear makes the meat taste better.
Right.
So what are these bodies just like representations of their souls floating around, and he feeds on that during his slumber? Or what is it really? It can't be the bodies because he consumes the bodies.
Does he eat all the body? I don't eat all the chicken carcass.
Well, those were complete bodies.
Well, they look like pieces and bits floating around. I think that some of them might have been missing a leg. Maybe he only needs one leg. Maybe he just eats the tenderloin.
Yeah. I like when he waved from the woods with apparently looked like Georgie's arm.
Yeah, that was funny.
Yeah.
I mean, it was good. I didn't laugh out loud at that part like I did when the cat. They showed a reaction shot from a cat. I just wish every time like a kid got murdered, they cut to like a local animal, just being like, "Whoa!" Just a little mouse going, "Wee! What's going on over there?" Why? And I laughed out loud in a theater, and nobody else was laughing.
Yeah, the drunk guy next to me laughed really loud when Georgie left the house, and it was revealed. I guess it wasn't a surprise to me because in the original miniseries and in the book, it's explicitly said that Fur Elise is playing on the piano. They didn't use that same Beethoven music for the show, for the movie, but it showed that it was Bill's mother at the piano playing it.
Yeah.
And as soon as he came down the stairs and it was the mother at the piano, the guy started laughing. Like, oh, I thought it was a soundtrack or something like that.
Oh, God. Boy, you encountered one of Earth's morons. Boy, there are just some real
But it also
dumbasses.
kind of goes into the play again, is that if there's a massive rainstorm going on outside, do you let your little 5-year-old son and his little rain slicker run right by you and go out the door?
You know, that's a parenting decision. I wouldn't disagree with a parent who lets their kids play in the rain. We played in the rain a shit ton when I was growing up.
I would have gone out there with them.
As a parent, you would have.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, nowadays, for sure, helicopter, hover parenting is more common where you don't let your kids do anything unsupervised. But it's not...
Or at least be within view, you know?
Yeah. Stay in the yard or don't go too far or something like that. You know, I could see somebody going like, that's bad parenting. All right. But also, you know, kids go out and they run around and they come back. I mean, and
Yeah, they get eaten by, you know, ravenous clowns.
Well, nobody assumes that ravenous clowns live in the sewer until that becomes a thing, and it, you know, probably is. We just don't realize it because we're all under the spell. No, I hear you. At least he maybe she did make him put on the rain slicker. Maybe we did just cut that part out. Hey, put on the raincoat, because he didn't have the raincoat when he ran by her. You know, could have been a parenting decision. She was playing a very dour, Jesus Christ, Mom, why don't you dial it up here? We already have a sad thunderstorm going on here. Could you play something upbeat? A little Michael Jackson?
Would it be weird if she was playing like the Star Wars bar theme?
She's playing the theme to Twin Peaks.
Yeah. Oh, that would have been more fitting. Or when you did that, I heard the Law and Order.
Dun, dun. Every time.
When he grabs the arm. Dun, dun.
So, a couple things blood-wise here. I know we're going long. We always go long. That's what we get comments sometimes. People praise us like, these guys just don't give a shit. They put 3-hour videos on YouTube. I'm like, no, that's because we suck at YouTube. It's not because I do give a shit. I do actually. I mean, in a lot of ways I don't. But okay, blood. Let's talk about wounds. The fat kid, and I'm also talking about the blood oath. Carving an H into your belly, that is fucking violent. I mean, it's one thing for bullies to grab a kid and beat him up. Not okay with that either. But to take out a knife, I mean, that shows the depths of that piece of shit's...
yeah. But he knew Ben had more hit points, so it worked well.
And Ben had one of those Arya Stark stomachs, it seems like, because they healed him up real quick. Like, those were deep cuts. I mean, any little scratch from a bully's knife should probably be looked at by a professional.
Yeah, Ben didn't
but
cry
he was
or anything.
Hacking into his belly. Yeah. And he only got one letter in, H, which is the first letter of my name, so I understand how hard it is to write that letter. But then Ben later on gets swiped by the werewolf, or was it later in the fight? Ben takes a belly shot on his left side. And they're like, and the kid even points out how he's like bleeding. He said something funny, like,
I'm glad I got to meet you before you died.
Yeah. Something like that. Well, that was that, yeah. But so then he takes a giant gash, like from a T-Rex swipe, from, not the upper legs. And poor Ben is just getting gutted, man, this kid here.
Well, I mean, it's the thing that sticks out the most is what's going to get hit.
That's right. That's why when I get attacked, I always get hit in my...
forehead.
Big thumb. I have large thumbs. I do not.
Your forehead protrudes out.
Yeah, what if I had a cone head, but I went forward?
You'd never get the sun in your eyes.
No, that would be nice. It'd be like wearing a baseball hat. So then, okay. All right, so I just thought that was like, Jesus, this kid, he's gonna, if he survives, which he probably will, he'll have these huge scars. You got to explain that to your parents. I mean, doesn't that arouse the attention? Like the old lady with the cat, right? She only saw the blood kind of like drifting off in the puddle because that was real blood from Georgie.
Yeah.
But all right, blood, the blood oath, carving the hand, eye roll, city, hello, population, me. I hate the cutting the hand for blood oath thing.
They're kids in the 80s. They probably saw it in a movie and they thought it was cool.
Come on, nobody cuts their hand. Nobody does that. That's crazy. The wound? Your hand, the palm of your hand is the thing you use more than anything in your whole day. It's never going to heal.
Which means that doing that is that much more an important
Nonsense.
symbol.
So what, they all have this, I mean, okay, I get maybe you have a scar somewhere on your body. Oh yeah, that's the scar that I have because I made a pact with my childhood friends that I have to murder a fucking
Or maybe when they get
clown.
the call in the next movie, they're going to see a scar on their hand, and that's going to help them to remember even more.
Totally okay
Or
with
maybe
that.
when Ben is looking in the mirror and he's lost all the weight and he has a big H scar in his stomach, he's like, oh, well, that reminds me.
I at least appreciated that they made the kids act like it hurt a lot. Like they showed them all wincing dramatically, as you would. But you don't cut... It's just, that's not a thing. But I guarantee there's been idiots out there that, like, you know, morons that decide, like, all right, bro, we're going to make a life pact here. We're going to open up a ATV repair shops when we get out of high school. All right, cut your... I guarantee there's been dummies who've done that. Who've like, all right, cut your hand. But I just don't... I'm not buying that anybody would do that in a rational way at all. It's crazy. Any thoughts?
We're talking about a movie about a psychotic interdimensional killer clown who shapeshifts and everything. And,
Yes. Science and physics.
And you seem to think that the most unrealistic thing is the blood oath.
Yes. Because you willfully slicing your own hand is madness.
Did you happen to talk about when they
You ever try to cut yourself?
when they jumped into the quarry from the top of a cliff, and yet in the next scene they were walking around like it was only waist deep?
Yeah, I did notice that too. Yeah, that did occur to me. I mean, I suppose that was the jump spot, you know, where the deep water is.
Yeah,
you know.
you try not to miss that one.
Yeah.
Can you imagine the first Beverly going off and just splatting and just hear, ah! And there's a blood pooling all around her.
But when it's like a slow death, like her legs snap in half, so she has to die, she drowns.
And the boys are looking down like, I'm gonna go home.
Or then two of them jump off out of noble chivalry, and they end up with the same broken legs, and then the other kids climb down, and then they all drown, and then a turtle just chews on their bodies.
Yes, or Ben looks at Bill and says, I don't want her anymore, you can have her. He just waddles away.
I can't date her now. But I don't know. All right, I mean, there's really nothing else. I mean, I know I just think cutting the blood hand is just one of those tropes that needs to go. Prick your finger like you're testing for diabetes, and then everybody puts their...
What would you have them do? Just sit around and weave friendship bracelets for each other?
Hold hands. Spit. Spit's
Ew.
gross.
That's gross, yeah.
But I would rather hold hands with someone who's spit in their hand. Although I think that's disgusting, and honestly, I would never do it. But, you know, you can survive spit in a hand. In fact, we're all touching...
You can also survive a slight cut on your hand.
It's not slight. It's dripping substantially. And you have tendons. You have things in your palm. It doesn't
They didn't
heal.
cut that deep. You don't have to cut your hand that deep to get blood.
You're defending this.
It's just
outrageous.
not unreasonable
No
to
wonder.
me.
It's completely unreasonable.
It's the mind of children.
Adults do it too all the time.
Well, when an adult does it, they're a moron.
The only movie that ever handled this topic responsibly was The Hangover, when Zach Galifianakis decides, you know, because he's the kooky one, and he goes to cut their hands before they're Vegas, after they get to Vegas, and then the other guy goes, no, don't cut your hand, what are you doing, it's crazy. They interrupt him from doing it because they're making a joke about that trope. I get it. It didn't ruin the movie for me.
Kids in the 80s.
I understand the bond of the thing. I've held hands in circles. All right. One time, my mom made me go to Sunday school, and everybody they were talking about mustard seeds and faith and bullshit, and I was like, "What the fuck are you people talking about?" We didn't hold hands at that time. I just remember being like, "What?" But okay. Final thing about blood. The bloody bathroom clean up. They wouldn't have gotten that bathroom that clean. There's no clean. You can't clean up that much mess. You can't do it. You got to repaint. Just saying that they had that place spotless.
It was linoleum, wasn't it?
Oh, the walls,
You don't paint linoleum, do you?
No, you don't paint the floor.
No, the wall.
The wall was linoleum?
I thought it was.
Did they put linoleum on the wall? Linoleum's a floor thing.
No, you put it on the walls too. I've seen many bathrooms like that.
Where the hell are you from?
Bathroom land.
Bathroom? Whatever. You got it. I don't think it was linoleum. I think it was wood.
Well, part of it was, yeah.
Yeah, maybe part of it. Yeah, I know that you don't cover everywhere, but I'm just saying they did a good job cleaning, blood cleaning montage. That would have taken 3 or 4 days to get the bathroom that clean. I've cleaned up messy stuff. I cleaned fish tanks for 10 years, so I know about cleaning up spills.
How much blood was in those fish tanks?
A lot, because I actually would get blood in fish tanks.
Blood tanks.
Well, I've got, because there's sharp corners and stuff, and I would get cuts and stuff. But
would the fish rise up and eat the blood?
Yeah. Well, actually, no. So your hand is soaking in salt water, and so your skin gets softer, right? And then the rocks and the decorations are coral, which are very sharp rock things. And so I would often like run my hand past the rock thing and cut the back of my hand or get cuts on my fingers. Yeah, I would not like deep gushers or something, but I would.
Did you make oaths with the fish as you did?
One time I gouged out. Yes, I would make blood oaths. We would all hold fins, and I would stick my head in the water, and they would nibble at my nose hairs. One time I did gouge out a big chunk out of my fingertip because I was trying to fix a piece of plastic on a lid, but it like dug, you know, like multiple layers deep,
Yeah.
not just the surface, and I could see like that weird white tissue that's down there, and it was like, ah. What sucks is then I have to keep cleaning fish tanks. I got 2 or 3 more clients, and I got to go clean. So anyway, my point is I know how to clean up messes, especially water and gross water. You can't clean a bathroom that easily.
Yeah.
That
If
effectively.
you put a boombox out and you play a montage song, it goes much faster.
You know what?
4 minutes tops.
That's true. It is just physics. It is good. All right. Okay, so that's a very minor point. It has nothing to do with it. Anything else to add, though? I love Pennywise. The more I think about it, I just like Pennywise a lot.
You want an answer to the question as to what?
Oh, yeah. Shit. Okay, so my theory... Okay, so...
I'll give you a hint. You mentioned the right answer like 8 times during this whole thing.
Oh, my God. Well, so it's obviously not the mouth opening. That's not the actor's ability. It's not the running forward and shaking side to side.
His ability to use a small child as a puppet.
I love that. That was cool. That was a neat choice in the movie that they had the kid as a puppet. I thought that was pretty neat. So my best guess, which I came up with this morning as I was laying in bed, was that he would roll when he rolled backwards, kind of like if you're a really good breakdancer / Cirque du Soleil guy, and then kind of like landed in the hole. Now. So what was the stunt that the actor
I think I forget the context in which he did it, but there was a scene where I think maybe after he gets stabbed through the head or he gets wounded something, he's basically reforming himself, and his eyes go from white, and you see from the sides the pupils come back around.
Yeah.
That whole cross-eyed thing you kept mentioning, he can do that to that extent where his eyes are solid white.
What?
Yeah.
Wait, what?
That's what I read.
That's what you read?
Yeah.
I never would have guessed that. That's the most...
But immediately after you said, I can't guess, like I said, we roll back thing, we started talking about Georgie in the sewers, and you were like, I got friends who are cross-eyed. Look how cross-eyed he is. It was the creepiest cross-eyed. I was like, who's getting it?
Oh, like I'm figuring it out? Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I have one friend that's cross-eyed. His one eye goes inwards pretty far.
Is that more like a lazy eye?
Yeah, whatever. Oh, yeah, I guess there's differences.
Yeah.
Everybody's a little bit cross-eyed. Do you ever notice that? This is a thing that everybody... It'll ruin your ability to interact with other human beings if you think about how every single person is slightly cross-eyed. So now every time you talk to somebody, look for their cross-eye.
No, I
and you will never be able to have a conversation with someone else for the rest of your life if you just try to find their cross-eye. Because it's very subtle. It's very, very subtle. And occasionally you'll meet somebody who isn't a little bit cross-eyed, and you'll be like, wow, something's weird about this person. Because people have those eyes that just, they just don't quite line up just right. So that's my tip for everybody. So seriously though, the guy can... Okay, wow, that's amazing. I mean, I could see somebody maybe having the ability to go a little bit, like especially the outward cross, because I can do the inside one. Like, you know, look at me now, James. Is this funny? Oh, look at me, James. But going inward cross-eyed is you can train your eyes to do that. So it makes sense that someone could train their eyes to go outward cross-eye. But
yeah, and there's other thing he can do, which is kind of interesting, and I guess we could throw a screen capture of this in there where he does this weird smile thing where he can force his bottom lip to shoot out into the classic Pennywise.
Yeah, James is showing him on a Conan O'Brien clip here.
Yeah.
Yeah, where the lips and the mouth form that thing. Yeah, wow.
So that wasn't a makeup effect. That was something he could actually do.
The guy looks like Steve Buscemi if he didn't get hit by gamma rays.
He does, yes.
Yeah. Man, okay, so... Wow, so wait, he can even go cross-eyed enough that only the whites are visible?
That's what I read said, but I assume there was some sort of CGI put in to enhance it, but he could do most of it.
Because that's rolling your eye like a full 90 degrees at least.
Yeah.
That doesn't seem even possible, because you have like muscles and things connecting
Yeah, you would think that connective tissue would prohibit you from doing that.
But, yeah, who knows? Wow. So it wasn't the anything acrobatic.
No, it wasn't his contortionist.
Well, I knew for sure, like where he climbs out of the fridge or whatever, that box thing that he's in.
I told Bill I want it in both directions. I want you to send your eyes looking away and give a really unsettling look. He said, I can do it.
So he did it. What are the chances? It's 1 in a million, and he was cast already. Wow. All right.
So I think that he probably used CGIs to accentuate it a bit more.
Yeah.
But he absolutely do it.
He has control over how his eyes go off in wacky directions. Man, that is nuts. Okay, so did this movie ruin red balloons forever? And you know, clowns have been protesting, saying like, "Hey, this hurts our business. It makes people more scared of clowns."
This book has been out forever.
Same reason the horse industry doesn't like horse movies, because horses are obviously threatening animals.
Yeah.
Okay, it's tough shit. It's the way we tell stories. We're allowed, and clowns are fucking scary. Are you afraid of clowns?
No.
What? Do you like clowns?
No.
You like me? I have red cheeks.
The only clown I'd be afraid of is John Wayne Gacy.
Well, it's a great example. I wonder if that's what inspired it.
It was partially, yeah.
Really?
I think Stephen King said it was John Wayne Gacy, Ronald McDonald, and Bozo the Clown rolled into one.
Yeah. So people that don't know, obviously you can Google John Wayne Gacy, serial killer, Illinois, home state, proud, fist bump. He killed, I think, 33 people, whatever. He had them buried under his crawl space, but he would dress up as a clown for children's parties, and he murdered a bunch of kids too, and a real violent piece of shit.
Remember when Michelle Bachmann was in Illinois and she gave that speech?
No.
She was saying, "I'm so proud to be here in the home state of John Wayne."
Oh. What? Is Illinois the home state of John Wayne?
No, it's John Wayne Gacy. She got it mixed up.
No. Well, no, you don't want to say Gacy.
No, she thought John Wayne, the cowboy guy.
Yeah, I know.
She read the fact wrong, and she was saying how proud she was to be in the proud home state of John Wayne.
So
but it wasn't John Wayne's home state. It was John Wayne Gacy. Well, that's why she missed the Gacy.
That's why my first question was like the cowboy actor also from Illinois, because that would make sense.
No, he was not, so it did not make sense.
Yeah, two famous John Waynes, but the other one is John Wayne Gacy.
So she was saying how proud she was to be from in the town.
Yeah, that's like if there was an actor named Jeffrey Dahmer, and you go to Wisconsin and go, "I'm proud to be from Jeffrey Dahmer's home state." Yeah, I gotcha. All right. Good. Glad I made you clarify that. Okay, so other than how funny it was when they cut to the cat, that was my favorite part. I love that part. I want to see it again.
Yeah. I mean, for me, the closing thought is I did not find this clown version to be anywhere near as scary as Tim Curry's. It didn't creep me out nearly as much as I would have liked it to.
Yeah.
And too much of the creepiness, I think, was forced on us with CGI. Him growing large, the teeth coming out of the mouth. Tim Curry didn't need that to be scary.
Right.
So I still prefer Tim Curry to this version, but I think this one, for what it was trying to do, was effective.
I agree. This they could have really blown it, and they didn't blow it, because that's a tough thing to do, is to change it, but still, because it would have been a mistake to try to replicate Tim Curry. Because they wouldn't have nailed it. It would have been an uncanny valley thing would have kicked in. Yeah. People would have been like, they're trying to do Tim Curry, and they couldn't have done Tim Curry. So they had to go in a different direction. But that opens up a whole nother set of ways to fail. And there was so many ways they could have gotten that clown wrong. And I think they nailed it, though. I mean, I think they hit that range of... Because there's one thing that I've discovered to be true about everything, is that there's more ways to get something right. Sorry, start over. There's more ways to get something wrong than there is to get something right. You can fail in an infinite number of ways, but you can only get something right in a few ways. So within every situation, there's a range of what are the right ways to do something. And they got it right as far as that goes. It's impossible to avoid CGI. I think it looked good, and it's sort of a thing with movies, is like, when do we reach a point where we can't tell it's CGI? We're probably there in some ways, because I imagine there's more CGI going on than we realize in a lot of ways. But with faces and humans and human shapes, it's going to be a long time before they have true, pure CGI. What the fuck is that? Oh, my computer was rubbing against my shelf thing. Did you hear that?
You mean your chair was rubbing against your shelf? You said my computer is rubbing against my shelf.
I meant to say my computer chair.
Yes.
I need a new chair, though. I'm doing a video editing, and my back is starting to get fucked up.
Oh, I can recommend one.
Well, should we include this in the video?
No, we're not include. You're putting that in the video?
Yeah, of course.
About rubbing the chair?
We'll see. I don't know. I do want to hear your chair. I've already picked out. I want to get a Herman Miller, but they're like $500 for a used one, but they're worth it. All right. Well, anyway, there you go. We but you liked it. What did you score it as? You said
7.5.
7.5. I gave it an 8, so it averages out to a 7.5. 7.75.
Okay.
All right. Final, and that's the final score. Nobody's review means as much as ours. We are the end all be all definitive review on the internet of this movie, and but you presented a lot of interesting factors, James, so I appreciate that you had this backstory knowledge to fill in. Are you optimistic about the next one?
Yeah, I am.
Okay. No, sounds like you're not.
No, I looked up Bill Skarsgård eyes, and this thing came up, a cross-eyed cat.
Okay.
Which goes back to your cat reaction thing.
So are you optimistic about the next sequel?
Yeah, the only problem I have with the next version is that I feel like child actors can get away with performances more than adults can.
All right.
I feel like adults can screw something up way more than a child can.
Oh, okay.
So I'm worried about the casting that they're going to do for the adult version, because the casting for the adult version of it in the 1990 miniseries was horrific.
Okay.
It was
It wasn't
abysmal.
bad? Was it the cast of Friends?
No, it was, what was that guy's name? I cannot. He had like 8 rules for dating my teenage daughter.
John Ritter. Is that right?
I'm sure he's a very nice, or was a very nice man.
Yeah.
But he was this effeminate guy who just did not fit the role that he was supposed to be in.
He's a sensitive man, like me.
I despised him in that movie.
Oh, just like the movies I've been in.
Yes.
Yeah. You despise...
And just,
okay,
just
so,
in general,
so the good news
acting
is
was
John
horrible.
Ritter's dead, James. So you know he's dead. You don't have to worry about him being...
Well,
in
that's
this
what I
next
said.
one.
I
Unless
said,
they do a CGI version.
I did open it with tragically he has died since, but I know he's dead. I don't wish harm upon him. I think he's probably was a great human being, but in that role, destroyed the role.
And by the way, he was fucking robbed for Best Actor for Problem Child and Problem Child 2.
Yes.
Best Actor. By a mile.
Yes.
Suck it, Forrest Gump.
Come and knock on my door.
Yes, exactly. Roll your grandpa down the stairs with a cat. All right, throw a cat at your grandpa and watch him roll down the stairs. It's hilarious. It's the definition of good comedy.
Is that from Problem Child?
Yeah, he throws a cat at his grandpa.
I thought you were doing like a Three's Company thing, because I don't. He was in Three's Company. That was the coming
Yeah,
knock on my
John-
door
yeah,
thing,
yeah,
but I
yeah.
never watched anything past the opening intro.
Oh, well, you missed out on a lot of joy.
Yeah.
So the next sequel, though, we'll see what happens.
You keep calling it the next sequel as though this was a sequel, and
Well, I
the
don't
next
know.
one is going to be a next sequel.
I don't choose my words well.
You can just say the sequel, not the next sequel.
Sorry, Dad.
Or part 2.
All right, so episode 4, which is
Yes.
the next sequel,
A
part
New
2
Hope.
to episode 1,
Yeah.
A New Hope, called Poop Floats.
Yes.
You know, there's a movie called Hope Floats.
Yes, I know.
Yeah, they should do a crossover where Sandra Bullock gets murdered by the clown.
I
And then
hate
goes
Sandra Bullock, so I
Why?
would love to see
What?
that.
You hate Sandra Bullock?
I can't stand her.
That's a strange position.
She's
Didn't you
horrible.
see Gravity?
Yes, I hated it.
Why?
She was just like,
She's good at
I
Gravity.
don't have. I need like another 2 hours to tell you all the reasons I hate her on Gravity. So we won't.
I've
get
never
into
heard
that.
of somebody who can't stand Sandra
Everything she
Bullock.
touches explodes
In every movie? You mean like...
in
just-
Gravity,
Oh, yeah.
and then she survives a freaking fall from space. Give me a break.
Well, she...
Give me a break.
I was just hoping...
She's a school teacher. What's she doing in space to begin with?
Wow, I really touched a nerve here.
I hate Gravity.
I liked a lot of Gravity. I just didn't like the way George Clooney was so cavalier about his conversation at the beginning. The dialogue in the opening sequence I thought was horrible. That was my biggest gripe with Gravity. Other than the rest of it, I was like, although I
Her
think
howling over the radio at the dogs.
it would have been funny if she died of hypothermia after she lands and she swims out of that lake. It'd be
would've
funny
been-
if she just got really cold and
It would have
started.
been funnier if she didn't cost NASA $10 trillion in damages because she's a moron.
What? They had to survive this meteor shower thing.
If that had been a real astronaut there, maybe the astronaut would have known how to handle things. And yet we have, for some strange, bizarre reason, a school teacher up there.
Well, yeah, what's wrong with putting a school teacher in space?
They don't belong in space!
They do belong in space. Space is about education.
Yes, she can do that from the ground.
Wow, I love your passion. I have never heard this kind of emotion.
It's
from
like the whole
James.
Armageddon thing. Is it harder to train a group of people, a group of astronauts to drill holes, or is it easier to train a group of hole drillers to be astronauts?
Everybody knows the answer to that. Drunk hole drillers, which, oh, by the way, is a great porno, can become astronauts in about 2 weeks. Okay, if they have enough confidence. All right, they chased the guy on a motorcycle with helicopters, James. That's how valuable his skills were.
If they all get together and sing "Leaving on a Jet Plane,"
Yes.
don't know when I'll get back again, they suddenly become astronauts.
Right, Ben Affleck, that was his finest performance. Yeah, okay.
Would it be hilarious if they cast Betty White as adult Beverly?
Yeah,
Just make no sense whatsoever.
it wouldn't surprise me. She had
I age faster.
she had a comeback. Yeah, maybe that's part of the it thing.
She
Old
was-
age is a
She
fear.
was slightly older than the rest of them.
Everybody, so they'll all be in their 30s or so, right? When they have to fight again. And people in their 30s, that's when you start getting scared of becoming old. Because your hair starts to turn gray in your 30s and you start
Old?
to... Huh?
In their 30s?
Yes.
I guess some people that would happen to.
Yeah, some people. That's when it starts happening. It doesn't mean everybody. And what, do your parents have gray hair?
Yes.
So yours will go gray sometime. Sometimes people
Well,
are
everyone's
old.
will.
Not necessarily. Generally, yeah, it is.
Generally, if you see an old guy walking around with like jet black hair, you like.
But there's the
he
occasional
dies.
dude in his 60s who's got his original hair color. It doesn't.
I never trust
They're
that.
the outliers, and like some people go gray really early, like in their 20s or something. No, my hair started going a little bit gray. I got some gray chest hairs and some gray pubes and stuff.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Good to
The
know.
beard. It's mostly in the beard though. You see the corners of the beard.
Yes.
It's what we call a little salt and pepper, a little salty beard face now. Yeah, I don't like it. It makes me. It's ruining my baby face and. It's embarrassing. But getting older is embarrassing. That's why it's such a fear, because everybody knows that they're going to be eventually, their bodies are being slowly ravaged by the demon of time.
Yes.
All right, so it was a good movie. People are going to have a fun time watching our review, hopefully, or they already did. And thanks for watching, guys. Like and subscribe, and support us on Patreon. And when I get the link up, which I haven't had time to work on. And thanks for watching our video. Goodbye, James.
Goodbye.
Come into the sewer, James. Come in with me. Do you want to have a snack? Foot by the foot. Jelly rolls. Don't get up. Hot dogs. Popcorn. Pop. 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 Pop up. Caramel corn. What are some other snacks? Dinosaur bites.
Cracker Jack.
Cracker Jacks. Microwave popcorn. I can't think of any snacks. Fuck.
Cotton candy.
Tell me some snacks. Tea.
Baby Ruth.
Baby Ruth. Oh, candy. Snickers. Twix. Thousand Island. I mean,
Thousand Island.
Thousand. 100 grand. Skull. Skull. Not skull. Skull. Score, I mean. Score.
Can you imagine biting into a candy bar and there's Thousand Island in the middle?
Goodbye, everybody. See you later.